So this Ashia and Maxwell storyline on 90 Day Fiancé. Season 12 is actually way weirder than most fans realize, because everyone's been talking about the visa denial, but almost nobody's telling the full story of what actually happened at that embassy. Here's what most videos are missing. Maxwell's K-1 visa was actually approved at first. He walked out of the embassy holding it in his hand. Ashia was thrilled. Then hours later, the embassy called him back in and revoked the whole thing, filed it as suspected fraud, and according to Ashia, told him he was banned from the United States. Why? Because it wasn't just Maxwell applying. His best friend Silas was applying at the same time to marry Ashia's best friend Briana, two couples, same day, same embassy. And that overlap set off every alarm bell in the US immigration system. Now, Ashia's in Nigeria trying to marry Maxwell anyway, using the same playbook Angela Deem used years ago. Her family isn't buying it. Her godbrother literally flew to Nigeria to call Maxwell a scammer to his face. And Maxwell himself has said some pretty telling things about Ashia in his confessionals. Let's break the whole thing down. Ashia Montgomery is 38 years old. She's from Alabaster, Alabama, which is a suburb south of Birmingham. And her whole identity on the show centers around her faith. She's a Pentecostal prophetess-in-training. If you don't know what that means, Pentecostalism is a Christian movement that emphasizes direct personal experience with God, speaking in tongues, prophecy, and divine healing. A prophetess-in-training is basically someone who believes God speaks to her directly, and she's learning to interpret those messages for others. So, when Ashia talks about God bringing Maxwell into her life, she literally means it in the most direct spiritual sense possible. She believes God specifically told her Maxwell was her husband. And that's important context for everything else that happens in this story. Maxwell Okeke is 28 years old. He's from Awka, Nigeria. That's a city in southeastern Nigeria, the capital of Anambra State. TLC hasn't shared much about his career or education before the show started. The age gap between them is 10 years. Ashia is older, which becomes a whole issue with Maxwell's family later. His mom in particular has strong feelings about it. But the real story here isn't really about the age gap. It's about how they met. Ashia has actually given a detailed timeline of how this all happened. It was summer 2023. She said she got a spiritual notification saying, "Here comes the bride." In February, she says God told her to get ready. Then in March, she was praying about who her husband would actually be. And she says God told her, quote, "He's not close." Now, most people might interpret "not close" as meaning in another state or maybe across the country. Ashia interpreted it as another country. So she opened up her dating app search parameters internationally, and days later, she matched with Maxwell in Nigeria. Here's where I have to give Ashia some credit. She was actually self-aware about how this looks. She literally said on the show that if one of her friends had come to her and said, "Hey, I'm dating a Nigerian guy I met online," she would have told them they were getting scammed. Her exact words. She admitted this. She said she would have called it a scam if someone else was doing what she was doing, but she believed God had told her this was different. So she flew to Nigeria to meet Maxwell in person. She didn't go alone though. She brought her best friend Briana with her, which is smart, honestly. Safety in numbers. Maxwell brought his best friend Silas to the meetup. And here's where things go from unusual to really unusual. Everyone's meeting for the first time in person. This is like a double first date situation, but in another country. 3 days into the trip, Silas, Maxwell's best friend, proposes to Briana. 3 days. Two people who just met in person for the first time, engaged after 3 days. And then, 1 day later, Maxwell decided he wanted to propose to Ashia too. Now, what would you expect for a proposal? A ring maybe? A nice dinner? Some kind of romantic setting? And Ashia said yes. Two women from Alabama engaged to two Nigerian men they'd known for less than a week in person. Both proposals happening during the same trip. And this double engagement is going to become critically important when we get to what happened at the embassy. Maxwell went to his K-1 visa appointment at the US Embassy. And here's the plot twist. He got approved, not denied, approved. He literally walked out of the embassy with the visa in his hand. Ashia was thrilled. Their plan was working. Maxwell was going to America. Then, hours later, everything fell apart. Ashia's exact quote about this moment, and I'm reading her directly because it's so specific. "I don't know, the devil struck in, gave my fiancé the visa in his hand, let him walk out the door with the visa, and I cannot understand it. I told Maxwell to listen, do not leave the embassy. I know one thing, he gotta leave with that visa, and I am sure. Literally, I am terrified." So Maxwell had the visa, he was out the door, and the embassy pulled him back in. Why? This is where the double engagement thing becomes critical. When the embassy officer looked at Silas's application, they noticed something. Ashia and Maxwell appeared in Silas's photos with Briana, two couples, all four people connected. To an immigration officer trained to spot visa fraud, that pattern screamed coordinated fraud ring. Multiple couples who met each other's fiancés on the same trip got engaged within days and are all now trying to get to America simultaneously. That's not how normal relationships work. So they called Maxwell back in, revoked the approval, filed the whole case as suspected fraud. According to Ashia, the officer even yelled and told them Maxwell would be banned from the US, though the exact legal status of that ban isn't fully confirmed publicly. And here's what's really interesting about Maxwell's reaction to all of this, because it shows a very different attitude than Ashia's. Ashia was devastated but ready to fight, immediately started looking for solutions, started thinking about flying to Nigeria to save the relationship. Maxwell, not so much. His initial reaction, according to Ashia, was to tell her, quote, "There's nothing we can do." Later in the season, Maxwell went even further. He said, quote, "Appealing is going to take time and it's not guaranteed. Reapplying is going to take time and it's not guaranteed. Getting married is going to take time and plenty of resources. So, nothing is guaranteed." And he also admitted, quote, "Everything scares me. Now, I'm not saying being scared is wrong. This is a huge situation. Getting your visa denied for fraud is genuinely terrifying. But notice the dynamic. Ashia is the one pushing it forward. Maxwell is the one hesitating. That's important. Because when someone is fighting this hard to make a relationship work, and their partner is basically saying, "Let's just give up," you have to ask which one of them actually wants this. The most vocal was Ashia's god brother Rod. Real quick, if you're not familiar with the term god brother or god sister, it's common in Black American Christian communities. It refers to someone who's basically family through church connections, not through blood or marriage. Someone your family considers close enough to be family, even without a legal relationship. So, Rod isn't Ashia's biological brother, but he might as well be. They grew up together in the same faith community. He's known her for years, and he does not trust Maxwell. Rod flew to Nigeria specifically to be at the wedding, not to bless it, but to try to stop it. He brought a family friend along as backup, and when Rod met Maxwell in person, he didn't hold back. He called Maxwell a slick salesman. He said Maxwell is not established enough for marriage. He predicted that Maxwell would flounder in America like a newborn baby. Maxwell's reaction? He was insulted. He told the camera that Rod's questioning felt disrespectful. Which, fair enough, nobody likes being called a scammer to their face. But here's something that changes the story a bit. Because Maxwell isn't just some silent victim in his confessionals, he's said some pretty direct things about Ashia. In one episode, Maxwell told the cameras that Ashia can be, quote, pushy in her demands. He said she's very particular about how he looks. She apparently has strong opinions about his appearance, his skin, his style. He also admitted, quote, "I feel like I need to keep her attracted to things." Read that again. "I need to keep her attracted to things." That's not someone in love and confident. That's someone who feels like they're constantly performing to keep their partner's approval. He even said it's taxing to hear Ashia nag him about his appearance. Now look, this doesn't make Maxwell right about the visa situation, and it doesn't excuse anything on his side, but it does mean this isn't a simple Ashia is being deceived by a scammer story. Ashia might be controlling in her own way. Maxwell might be tolerating things he finds difficult too. This could be two people using each other for different reasons. Ashia gets a fulfilling "God brought him to me" story. Maxwell gets a potential path to America. and neither of them is being fully honest about the dynamic. Or maybe I'm reading too much into confessional soundbites, but the fact that Maxwell called Ashia Pushy on camera is worth noticing. When Ashia arrived in Nigeria, she had to meet Maxwell's family for the first time, and they didn't know she was 10 years older than him. Ashia's mom accidentally mentioned it, and it became a whole thing. Maxwell's family, specifically his mother, was worried about a few things. First, the age gap. In Nigerian culture, and especially in traditional Igbo culture, marriages tend to have the man older than the woman. So having Ashia be significantly older raised concerns about whether she'd be able to have enough children. Maxwell's mom made a specific request. She wanted Ashia to have 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls. That was her requirement for approving the marriage. Ashia negotiated her down to 3. Now think about that for a second. Ashia is 38 years old. Having 3 children starting basically now would mean pregnancies well into her early or mid-40s. That's medically challenging, and she's making that commitment as part of getting her future mother-in-law's blessing to marry. Maxwell's mom also said something kind of unusual. She suggested that Maxwell's skin would clear up naturally once they started having kids, which is a very specific cultural belief, and also a subtle way of saying, "My son will look better after he's had children with you." Ashia brought gifts to smooth things over, a purse and some dresses for her future mother-in-law. It worked. Maxwell's mom gave her blessing for the marriage. Now, here's what's interesting. Maxwell's exact quote about the spousal visa strategy was, quote, "Our best shot is the spousal visa. It's stronger. When it's approved, I'm coming there with my green card, not coming over like the K1. That's not a person naive about the immigration system. That's a person who studied exactly how this works and knows which strategy has the highest success rate for someone in his situation. Here's what's interesting. There's a rumor circulating that Ashia and Maxwell already tied the knot during Ashia's Nigeria trip. Multiple spoiler accounts have claimed this, sharing what they say are wedding documents, but, and this is important, one commenter pointed out that Maxwell's visa interview date reportedly clashed with the registry date, which would mean the wedding either didn't happen when the spoilers say it did, or something's off about the timeline. So the marriage rumor is out there, but it's not fully confirmed. What we do know is they're still together, as of the latest reporting, both following each other on social media. Ashia's family is still opposing the relationship publicly, and Maxwell's own family, especially his mother, has now given her blessing. Whether they actually married in Nigeria or the wedding is still being planned, we'll find out for sure when TLC airs the finale. But knowing everything we know now, the visa fraud denial, Maxwell's pushy comments about Ashia, his hesitation about fighting for the relationship, and the entire Angela Deem parallel, you have to at least ask whether this ends up being another franchise cautionary tale. That's the Ashia and Maxwell situation. A visa that was approved and then revoked when the embassy connected the dots between 2 couples. A prophetess who believes God is testing her. A god brother who came to Nigeria specifically to call her fiancé a scammer. A fiancé who calls her pushy and taxing. And a rumor that they may have already married anyway. I'm not going to tell you who's right or wrong here. Both of them seem to have issues. What I can say is that the US government looked at this whole situation and decided the pattern looked fraudulent. And Ashia's own family, people who know her and love her, are begging her to reconsider. At some point, you have to at least ask what everyone else is seeing that you're not. If you want more Season 12 breakdowns, subscribe and turn on notifications. I've got more coming. Drop a comment. Do you think Maxwell is scamming Ashia, or is she being controlling? Let me know. See you in the next one.